I was 16 then, and my sister Emma was 12. Mom and Dad had to drive 3 hours to see Aunt Carol, who'd been in a car crash. They didn't want to leave us, but Emma had school the next day, and I promised I could take care of everything. "Lock the doors," Dad said, kissing my forehead. "Don't answer for anyone except us. We'll be back tomorrow morning." The house felt different after their car disappeared down our street. Bigger, emptier. Every sound seemed louder. The old pipes groaning, the wind pushing against the windows, the clock in the kitchen ticking like a heartbeat. Emma and I made popcorn and watched a movie. She fell asleep on the couch around 9, curled up like a kitten. I covered her with Mom's quilt and went to wash the dishes. That's when I first saw him. Mr. Van Spall stood in his backyard, but he wasn't looking at his own house. He was staring straight at our kitchen window, at me. Even in the dark, I could see his pale face and the way he held his body, too still, like a hunter watching prey. My hands shook as I pulled the curtains closed. Mr. Van Spall had lived next door for 5 years, but he gave me the creeps. He never smiled, never waved, just watched. Mom said he was probably lonely since his wife died, but there was something wrong with the way he looked at Emma and me, something hungry. I told myself he was just checking on us, being a good neighbor. But when I peeked through the curtains again, he was closer, standing at the fence between our yards, still staring. My heart hammered against my ribs. I grabbed the cordless phone and thought about calling Mom and Dad. But what would I say? That the neighbor was in his own yard? They were dealing with Aunt Carol. I couldn't worry them over nothing, but it wasn't nothing. At 10:30, I heard footsteps on our front porch. Slow, careful steps like someone trying not to make noise. I crept to the living room window and saw Mr. Van Spall standing at our front door. He wasn't knocking, just standing there, looking at the door like he was thinking. Emma stirred on the couch. "What's wrong?" she whispered. "Shh." I pulled her behind the couch with me. "Stay quiet." The footsteps moved around the house, first to the side windows, then to the back door. He was checking every way in, and my stomach turned to ice water. The back door had a loose lock. Dad kept saying he'd fix it, but he never did. I heard the doorknob rattle. "We need to hide," I whispered to Emma. Her eyes went wide and scared, but she nodded. The rattling stopped. Then I heard the worst sound in the world, the soft squeak of our back door opening. He was inside. I grabbed Emma's hand and pulled her toward the stairs, but the old floorboard creaked under my foot. We both froze. Everything went silent except for my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then Mr. Van Spall's voice drifted from the kitchen, soft and sing-song. "Girls, I know you're here. I saw your parents leave. I just want to check on you." Emma squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. I could hear him moving through the house, his footsteps heavy on Mom's clean floors. He was in no hurry. He knew we couldn't leave. "I brought you some cookies," he called out, his voice closer now. "Fresh baked? Don't you want some cookies?" There were no cookies. I could smell his lies mixed with something else, something sour and wrong. We made it to the stairs, climbing as quietly as we could. Behind us, Mr. Van Spall kept talking. "Emma? Such a pretty name, and you're getting so big, aren't you? So grown up." The way he said Emma's name made my skin crawl, like he'd been thinking about it, practicing it. We reached the upstairs hallway, and I pulled Emma into Mom and Dad's bedroom. It had a lock and a phone. My hands shook as I turned the lock and grabbed the phone from the nightstand. No dial tone. He'd cut the phone line. Downstairs, Mr. Van Spall was searching room by room. I could hear him opening closets, looking under furniture. "I know you're scared," he called up to us. "But I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to be friends." Friends don't break into houses. Friends don't cut phone lines. Friends don't make little girls hide in their parents' bedroom. Emma was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. I held her close and tried to think. The cordless phone was downstairs. My cell phone was in my backpack by the front door. We were trapped. Mr. Van Spall's footsteps started up the stairs. Girls, come out now. I found you anyway. His voice was different now, harder. The fake kindness was gone. You can't hide from me forever. I looked around the room desperately. The window. It was our only chance. I opened the window as quietly as I could. Below us was the porch roof, then a 10-foot drop to the bushes. It would hurt, but we could survive it. Emma, I whispered, we have to jump. She shook her head, terrified. The doorknob rattled. Mr. Van Spal was trying to get in. Open this door, he said, and now his voice was ugly. Mean. Open it right now. The door shook as he hit it with his shoulder. The lock wouldn't hold much longer. I picked Emma up and carried her to the window. Close your eyes and hold on tight. The door splintered behind us as we climbed out onto the roof. Mr. Van Spal's angry shout echoed through the broken door. I jumped first, hitting the bushes hard enough to knock the wind out of me. Pain shot through my ankle, but I could move. Emma landed on top of me a second later, and we rolled apart, gasping. Above us, Mr. Van Spal appeared at the window. His face was twisted with rage, and in the moonlight, he looked like a monster. We ran. Emma's legs were shorter, but fear gave her speed. We ran to the Morrison house 2 blocks away and pounded on their door until they let us in. Mrs. Morrison called the police while Mr. Morrison got his shotgun and went to check on our house. They found Mr. Van Spal in Emma's bedroom, going through her things. He had rope in his pocket and handcuffs, and other things I still don't like to think about. He went to prison for breaking and entering, but I know he would have done worse if we hadn't jumped. Much worse. Emma and I never talked about that night, not really. But sometimes I catch her checking her locks the same way I do. Sometimes I see her look over her shoulder when she's walking alone. Mr. Van Spal got out of prison 5 years ago. I don't know where he lives now, but I think about him sometimes when I'm closing my store. I think about how he knew our parents were gone, how he'd been watching and waiting. And I remember that the scariest monsters don't hide under beds or in closets. They live right next door. My name is Laura, and I run a food van called Laura's Kitchen in downtown Phoenix. I sell tacos, burgers, fries, and my special chocolate chip cookies that people love. For 3 years, this little blue van has been my life. After my divorce, it became the only way I could feed my 9-year-old daughter Hazel and pay our bills. Everything changed on a hot Tuesday morning in July. I was setting up my usual spot near the office buildings on Central Avenue when I first saw them. 4 men in their 20s, walking toward my van with ugly smiles. The tallest one had dirty blonde hair and eyes that made my stomach twist. "Hey there, pretty lady," he said, leaning close to my window. I could smell cigarettes on his breath. "What you got cooking?" "Tacos are $2, burgers are $3.50, I said, trying to sound normal. $2? That's expensive for street food," another one laughed. He was shorter but had big muscles and tattoos covering his arms. The tall one smiled wider. "Maybe we can work out a deal. You give us free food, and we make sure nobody bothers you." "I can't give away free food. I have bills to pay," I said, my voice getting smaller. "Bills to pay?" The third guy stepped up. He had a beard and mean eyes. "Poor little mommy needs money?" They knew I had a daughter. How did they know that? The fourth guy spit on the side of my van. "We don't want your nasty food anyway." They left laughing, but I knew they'd be back. For 2 weeks, they came every day. They surrounded my van, scared away customers, demanded money. On Friday, the tall one, Derek, grabbed my arm through the window. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," he whispered, his fingers digging into my skin. "We're being nice, but we don't stay nice forever." I went home with bruises and couldn't eat dinner. Hazel asked why I was so quiet, but what could I tell her? That mommy was being bullied? Each day got worse. They wanted 50% of my earnings. When I refused, Derek showed me something that made my blood freeze. A picture of Hazel walking out of her school. Beautiful little girl, he said. Would hate for something to happen to her. I threw up right there in my van. They laughed. You have 3 days to decide, Derek said. Van or consequences. That night, I couldn't stop shaking. I thought about running away, but where could we go? I thought about calling the police, but they'd just deny everything. On Friday morning, I almost didn't go out. I sat in my kitchen, staring at my van keys, wondering if this was the day I'd lose everything. Hazel was getting ready for school, humming softly. Mama, you okay? She asked. I'm fine, baby, I lied. That's when someone knocked on our door. Through the peephole, I saw a tall man with kind eyes and work clothes. My first thought was that Derek had sent someone. Ma'am, my name is Emmanuel Rodriguez. I saw your van yesterday, and I was wondering if you needed help, he said through the door. I cracked it open. Help with what? I used to run a food truck in Tucson. I saw those guys bothering you, and I thought you could use an extra pair of hands. Emmanuel looked strong but gentle. Something about him felt safe, especially when Hazel peeked around my legs and he smiled at her like she was precious. I can't pay much, I said. I'm not looking to get rich, he said. I just want to work. Can you start today? I asked. Emmanuel smiled. Yes, ma'am. We drove to my spot together, Emmanuel following behind in his pickup truck. I felt braver but still terrified. What would Derek do when he saw I had help? They were waiting. All 4 of them, like vultures. Derek walked up as I parked. Time's up. You got the papers? I'm not giving you my van, I said, my voice stronger with Emmanuel beside me. Derek looked at Emmanuel like he was a bug. Who's this? I'm Emmanuel. I work here now, he said calmly. The muscled guy laughed. One old Mexican guy? You think that scares us? Emmanuel didn't react. He just helped me set up the grill. Derek seemed confused. You got 10 seconds to get lost, old man, Derek said. Emmanuel looked up and I saw something cold in his eyes. No, he said simply. Derek looked shocked. What did you say? I said no. These ladies are trying to work. You should move along. The bearded guy stepped forward. You don't know who you're messing with. Emmanuel straightened to his full height. Actually, I do. Derek Thompson, age 24, lives on Mill Avenue with his mother, arrested twice for assault. His friend Marcus owes $3,000 to some dangerous people in Tempe. Derek's face went white. How do you? Tony Martinez. Emmanuel continued, looking at the bearded guy. 2 kids you never see. And Jake Wilson, who thinks nobody knows about his gambling problem. All 4 looked terrified. Who are you? Derek whispered. Emmanuel smiled, but it wasn't nice. Someone who doesn't like bullies. He pulled out his phone. Derek, your probation officer is Linda Castro. She'd love to know about this. Marcus, your dealer's getting impatient. Tony, your ex wants to call child services. And Jake, your mother is in Sunshine Manor, room 237. She wonders why you never visit. Jake started crying. Here's what happens now, Emmanuel said, his voice calm but terrifying. You apologize to Laura, you pay back every penny, and you never come near her or her daughter again. Or what? Derek said, his voice shaking. Or I make phone calls. Probation officers, drug dealers, ex-girlfriends. That's just the beginning. Derek pulled out money and threw it on the ground. Emmanuel stepped closer. Pick it up, hand it to her properly, with an apology. Derek picked up the cash, his face red with fear. Sorry for bothering you and threatening your daughter, he mumbled. One by one, they all apologized. Marcus even cleaned the old spit stains off my van. Now leave, Emmanuel said, and remember, I'll be watching. They ran like scared children. I stood there shaking, holding $300, more than they'd stolen over weeks. How did you know all that? I whispered. Emmanuel shrugged. I pay attention. I ask questions. I know people. He started cleaning the grill. They won't bother you anymore. What if they come back? Emmanuel looked at me with steady eyes. Laura, men like that are cowards. They pick on people they think are helpless. Now they know you're not helpless. He was right. Derek never came back. None of them did. I heard later that Derek moved away, Marcus got clean, Tony started seeing his kids, and Jake visited his mother every Sunday. Emmanuel worked with me for 6 months until I felt strong again. He taught me how to spot trouble before it started, how to stand tall and speak with authority. The day he told me he was moving to Colorado to be near his grandchildren, I cried. "You saved me," I told him. "No," he said, smiling gently. "I just reminded you that you were never as helpless as you thought. That was 2 years ago." Laura's kitchen is thriving now. I have 2 employees and I'm buying a second van. Hazel is 11 and helps me on weekends, learning the business. I still don't know who Emmanuel really was. Private investigator? Someone with law enforcement connections? Or just a wise man who knew how to bluff perfectly? It doesn't matter. He showed me that when you think you're alone, help can come from unexpected places. And the scariest monsters are often just cowards who run when someone stands up to them. My van sits outside, ready for tomorrow. The paint is bright blue, the grill is clean, and the freezer is full of chocolate chip cookies. I'm not afraid anymore. My name is Alex Hessen, and I made the worst deal of my life 2 years ago. I thought I was just delivering packages for extra money. I was wrong. It started when I lost my job at the factory. My mom needed medicine, and the bills kept coming. That's when Tommy Ritchie found me at Murphy's Bar, looking desperate and broke. "I got work for you, Alex," he said, sliding a beer across the table. "Easy money. Just drive packages around the city. No questions asked." The first few jobs were simple. Pick up a small box from one address, drop it off at another. $500 each time. I told myself it was probably just business papers or something legal but private. But deep down, I knew better. Nobody pays $500 to deliver papers. After 6 months, I had enough money to get Mom her treatments. I wanted out. That's when I learned the real deal I had made. "You can't quit," Tommy said when I told him. We were standing in the back room of his restaurant. His 2 friends, Big Mike and Polly, stood behind him with their arms crossed. "You know too much now." "I don't know anything," I said. "I just drive. I don't look in the packages." Tommy laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "You know our routes. You know our customers. You know where we keep our stuff. That's enough to put us all in prison." "I would never tell anyone anything." "I believe you," Tommy said, "but my boss doesn't. He thinks the only way to keep people quiet is to keep them working. Or keep them dead." My blood went cold. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm warning you. You're part of this now. The only way out is in a box." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my mom and what would happen to her if something happened to me. But I also thought about what I was doing. Those packages I carried, they weren't papers. They were drugs. Drugs that hurt people, destroyed families, killed kids. I had to find a way out. But Tommy was right. I knew too much. I started keeping notes, writing down license plates, addresses, names I heard. If something happened to me, at least the police would have evidence. I hid the notebook in my mom's attic. 3 weeks later, things got worse. Tommy gave me a different kind of package. It was heavy and made a metallic sound when it moved. "This goes to Johnny Marks on 5th Street, Tommy said. "Be very careful with it." I knew what was in that package. It wasn't drugs this time. It was a gun. Maybe more than one. "I can't do this," I said. Big Mike stepped forward. He was 6 feet tall and 300 pounds of muscle. "You want to say that again?" "The drugs were bad enough. But weapons? Someone's going to die because of what I'm carrying." "Someone's going to die if you don't carry it," Tommy said quietly. "Starting with you." I took the package. I drove to 5th Street, but instead of delivering it, I kept driving. I drove to the police station. Detective Sarah Mills listened to my story. She was a small woman with tired eyes who had seen too much. "You're in deep trouble, Alex," she said after I finished. "These people don't forgive. They don't forget, and they have long reach. I know, but I can't keep doing this. I have to try to be good again." Detective Mills leaned back in her chair. We've been watching Tommy Ritchie for 2 years. That we need someone on the inside. Someone who can get us evidence. You want me to go back? I want you to help us shut them down, but I won't lie to you. It's dangerous. If they find out you're working with us, you're dead. I thought about my mom. I thought about all the people getting hurt by the drugs I had delivered. I thought about who might get killed by the gun in my car. What do I have to do? The next 6 months were the worst of my life. I went back to Tommy and told him I had delivered the package like he asked, but now I was wearing a wire. Every conversation was recorded, every address was noted, every face was photographed. The fear never left me. Every morning I woke up wondering if this would be the day they found out. Every knock on my door made my heart race. Every phone call could be my last. Tommy started watching me closer. He would show up at my apartment without warning. He would call me at strange hours just to see where I was. "You seem nervous lately," he said one day. "Everything okay?" "Just tired," I said. "This job wears on you." "Yeah, it does," Tommy agreed. "That's why loyalty is so important. Loyal people live longer." The wire under my shirt felt like it weighed 100 pounds. 2 weeks later, everything went wrong. I was supposed to pick up a package from a warehouse on the south side, but when I got there, Big Mike was waiting with a gun. "Tommy wants to see you," he said. "What's this about?" "You'll find out." He made me drive to an empty building near the river. Tommy was there with 5 other men I didn't recognize. They all looked angry. "We found something interesting, Alex," Tommy said. He was holding a small black device. My wire. "I don't know what that is," I said, but my voice was shaking. "It's a recording device. We found it in your car yesterday when you weren't looking." My legs felt weak. This was it. I was going to die in this empty building by the river. Nobody would ever find my body. "You've been recording our conversations," Tommy said. "Feeding information to the police? Did you really think we wouldn't find out?" "Tommy, let me explain." "Explain what? How you betrayed your friends? How you sold us out?" Big Mike grabbed my arms and held them behind my back. Another man put a gun to my head. I could feel the cold metal against my temple. "Any last words?" Tommy asked. I thought about my mom. I thought about Detective Mills waiting for my call. I thought about all the people I was trying to help by stopping these criminals. "Yeah," I said. "I'm not sorry." Tommy's face went red with anger. "You should be sorry. You should be begging." "I'm not sorry for trying to be a good person again. I'm not sorry for trying to stop you from hurting people. The only thing I'm sorry about is that it took me so long to do the right thing." Tommy raised his gun. "Goodbye, Alex." That's when the doors exploded open. Police poured into the building from every direction. Detective Mills was in front, her gun drawn. "Drop your weapons. Nobody move." The next few minutes were chaos. Shouting, running, gunshots. When it was over, Tommy and 4 of his men were on the ground in handcuffs. Big Mike had tried to run and got tackled by 3 officers. Detective Mills helped me to my feet. "You okay?" I was shaking so hard I could barely stand. "How did you know? Your wire went dead yesterday. We knew they had found it. We've been watching the building ever since, waiting for them to bring you here. You used me as bait. You volunteered," she reminded me, "and because of what you did, we got them all. The whole organization is finished." 6 months later, I testified at Tommy's trial. He got 25 years in prison. The others got 15 to 20 years each. The judge said their drug operation had been responsible for dozens of deaths and hundreds of destroyed lives. After the trial, I started working construction. Honest work with honest pay. It doesn't pay as much as drug running, but I sleep better at night. My mom finished her treatments. She's doing well now. She doesn't know exactly what I went through to pay for her medicine, but she knows it was something bad. "I'm proud of you for getting out," she told me one day. "It takes courage to change your life." She was right. Getting into the criminal world was easy. Getting out almost killed me. But I learned something important. Being good isn't about never making mistakes. It's about fixing them when you can. I still have nightmares about that night by the river. I still jump when the phone rings late at night. But I'm free now. Free from Tommy, free from the fear, free from being someone I hated. That's worth more than any amount of money. That's the best deal I ever made.